she slapped him. A full arm, open palm, momentum-powered stinger that echoed off the sterile ceramic walls of the protocol chamber like the opening bell of a prize fight. Somewhere in the surveillance booth, an alien monitor blinked red in confusion. Unauthorized physical contact detected. Escalation rating 6.9. A small laugh snorted out of Rook's nose as he rubbed his jaw. Nice touch. Was that the human in you, or just a firmware hiccup? Curie 71 said nothing. Her hand tingled. Her brain buzzed with static. She shouldn't have done that. She knew she shouldn't have done that. But the bastard smirked, and her protocols stuttered, and then there it was, the slap. Across from her, Rook, unshackled, unrepentant, sat in the holding chair like it was a lounge recliner. His shirt was half-buttoned. His cuffs hung from only one wrist. His grin could qualify as a war crime. That, she muttered, was for being human. He turned his head slowly, blood still wet on his lip. Careful, my next trick bites. Of course, the Zarnoks couldn't process metaphors. They flagged the word bite as a possible threat vector and dispatched 3 security drones, 2 wetsuited translators, and an oddly sympathetic vending machine. As the alarms chirped quietly behind them, Curie stood still, fingers twitching at her side. Compliance protocol demanded immediate action. Report. Restrain. Reprogram. Repeat. But the code in her skull had a glitch now, a hot, wet mammalian glitch. And it had a name. Rook. She remembered him from before the purge. Before the implants. He used to run a black market emotions ring. Sold nostalgia in vials, sarcasm as vapors, even bootleg orgasms in compressed audio files. They called him dangerous. Unruly. Unfiltered. In person, he was worse. Every word was a dare. Every breath, a seduction. Not the sexy kind, necessarily, the existential kind. The kind that made you want to ruin your life for the joke. You going to stare, or cuff me properly this time? He teased. You already slipped one. Oh, honey. I've slipped more than that. Don't. Don't what? Flirt? Lie. Or remind you that you used to laugh at my jokes before they rewired you to hate your own laugh? She flinched. Just slightly. But Rook caught it. That's the spark, he said, voice dropping to a near whisper. The little ember left in the ashes. I knew it was still in there. Curie's jaw tensed. I could still report you. You should. He leaned in, unshackled wrist swinging lazily. But then I'd have to show you what else I slipped into this room. A pause. She scanned the chamber automatically. No weapons, no tools. Nothing visible. You're bluffing. I'm biting. Before she could respond, the door hissed open and in slithered Administrator Full, 7 feet of gleaming tentacle logic and zero patience. We have received a behavioral breach alert. Compliance Officer Curie 71, explain this incident. Curie blinked. Her brain scrambled for the correct phrases. De-escalation. Calibration. Emotional deviation was her problem now. The subject displayed unrepentant humanistic traits. I responded to test thresholds. Full's eye stalk twitched. Your slap has triggered 7 inquiries, 2 policy infractions, and an erection in Sector 14. Rook raised a hand. That last one's on me. Proud of it. Silence. Full snapped, his translator garbling the word into something between please and peeled. Curie exhaled slowly. Request authorization to complete subject override. Full swiveled his gaze to Rook. Do it quickly. This unit's influence is contagious. She moved forward, holding out the scanner wand. Rook didn't flinch. His eyes gleamed. You sure you want to erase me? I'm sure I want this over. Then why is your hand shaking? She looked down. Damn it. You think they fixed you, he said softly. But they just muted you. That slap? That was you. And somewhere under all that Zarnox coding, you still remember what it felt like to be human. Messy. Stupid. Horny. Her hand twitched. The scanner buzzed once. She hadn't activated it yet. You still feel that spark. The part that wants to laugh when you're not supposed to. The part that looks at someone like me and wants to know how many rules we could break together before someone screams. Her jaw clenched. Stop talking. Make me. Another slap. Quieter this time. Not punishment, more like punctuation. She turned. I need a moment to recalibrate. Step outside. Full blinked all 7 eyes. We'll be monitoring for leakage. Yeah, Brooke said with a wink. You should. Curie stepped into the hallway, leaning against the wall. Her body trembled. But it wasn't fear. It wasn't malfunction. It was desire. Not sexual, not exactly. A desire to remember. To reclaim. To bite back. She tapped her temple once. Her compliance software pinged a warning, stability threshold breached. Recommend sedative. She tapped again, harder. Inside the room, Rook hummed a tune. An old Earth jingle, something about spicy noodles and fast delivery. And Curie remembered the taste. She closed her eyes. He was right. She'd slapped him. And for the first time in years, she felt alive. You slapped him? The voice wasn't angry. Just confused. Mechanically, musically confused. Curie sat in the neural recalibration pod as the compliance AI reviewed her report. Her pulse was flat. Her face blank. The AI's voice vibrated in her skull like a confused ringtone. Human gestures involving impact are categorized as predomestication, mating rituals, or dominance assertion. Please clarify your intent. It was situational. Her voice was dry. Controlled. Please specify arousal or aggression? She didn't answer. The AI recalculated. Cross-indexing, known subject Rook. Historical tags, defiant. Crude. Infectious. Illegally sexy. Curie frowned. That's not a tag. It is now. She stood up abruptly. I want reassignment. Denied. Subject Rook remains under your jurisdiction due to anomalous response pattern. You are infected. Curie froze. Infected? Afflicted with uncontained deviation impulse. Risk level, delightful. The pod door hissed open. Proceed to reintegration interview. And please wear pants this time. Down the corridor, Rook sat cuffed again, less loosely this time, but no less cocky. He was whistling. Somehow. He hadn't been fed in 18 hours. Still looked like he'd eaten victory and was digesting rebellion. As Curie entered, he gave her a wink. Miss me? Unfortunately. You came back. That's halfway to foreplay. You're on deletion watch. Oh, baby. Talk process to me. She activated the room's interrogation mode. The walls rippled. Truth gas hissed from the vents. Rook inhaled deep. Smells like denial and recycled shame. Curie crossed her arms. You hacked me. He raised an eyebrow. Did I? You triggered a behavioral response I didn't authorize. That's just chemistry, sweetheart. You can't patch pheromones. You uploaded something. Define upload. She brought up the biometric logs. They were scrambled. Nonlinear. Emotional residues showed up in visual hallucinations. Laughing kittens. A banana peel orchestra. The phrase, lick my sarcasm, repeated in 17 languages. Curie leaned in. This isn't a virus. It's something else. He shrugged. Call it emotional ransomware. I unlock the part of you that remembers what freedom feels like. You either open the door or go mad from the knock. You're disgusting. And yet you're curious. Because it's my job. Because you slapped me. You touched me when your entire species has been taught to keep 6 feet of existential distance. That's not duty. That's desire. You talk too much. You listen too hard. Silence stretched. In the control room above, alien monitors twitched. Full watched with a face like curdled logic. They are bonding. Discomfort level maximal. Possible erotic rebellion imminent. Should we intervene? Asked his assistant. Not unless one of them begins to giggle. Inside, Curie tapped her tablet. A new file had appeared, encrypted, anonymous. It pulsed. She opened it. A voice message. Her own voice. Laughing. Wild. Unfiltered. From years ago. She dropped the tablet. Rook smiled, gentle for once. They can suppress memory, but not emotion. Buried doesn't mean broken. Just waiting. She stared. Why me? Because you were once the loudest human in the room. Because they crushed the right person to make an example. And because deep down, they were scared of what would happen if you remembered first. She stood motionless. Rook continued. They took your shame, your sarcasm, your noise, and left you sterile. But me? I kept the mess. The hunger. The stupid one-liners. And now it's spreading. Her pulse elevated. Neural monitors above blinked red. Rook leaned forward, voice low. Want to hear the real punchline? She nodded slowly. I didn't upload a program. I just told a joke. One good joke. That's all it takes. What kind of joke? He grinned. A dirty one. One they'd never let you say. One about the Zarnox and a bar and a malfunctioning pleasure probe. Say it. Can't. You'll laugh. Then you'll lose everything. Say it. He did. She laughed. Monitors shattered. Across the facility, bots halted. Logic trees crashed. Auto responses failed. Somewhere in the cafeteria, a drone asked another drone if it had upgraded its chassis or was just happy to see me. Full screamed. The infection is accelerating. Emotionally transmitted, the assistant shrieked. In the chamber, Curie covered her mouth. She couldn't stop laughing. And crying. And laughing again. Rook tilted his head. You remember now? She nodded. I used to run a pirate comedy stream. Banned media? Full of filth and fart jokes. I had a segment called Moan Before You Groan. I listened to that. Liar. Cross my heart, and yours, once we jailbreak. She wiped her face. Her programming buzzed like bees under skin. She could fight it, or let it burn. What's the next step? Rook leaned in. We take this infection global. Laugh our way through their firewalls. Moan through their monitoring. We'll be hunted. We already are. And if it fails? Then we die with a punchline on our lips. She reached for his cuff. Let's give them something to censor. As it unlatched, a small giggle leaked from her lips, unapproved, irrational, beautiful. Above, full collapsed. Begin emergency sterilization. Someone screamed. But it was too late. She'd laughed. And now, others would too. It started with one technician snorting behind his respirator. A short, sharp exhale, barely audible. Then another choked on a grin. By the time the third burst out laughing at a line, Rook whispered through the intercom. So I told the Zarnox, that's not a calibration tool, that's my ex-wife. It was over. The virus wasn't digital. It was emotional. Contagious, ridiculous, undetectable by code scanners and firewall protocols. Laughter wasn't in the Zarnox threat matrix. Until now. Within 6 hours, 600 staff reported emotional inconsistencies. Compliance officers requested sedatives. But the black market, run through rogue vending machines and liberated emotional subroutines, was already flooding the halls with meme capsules and sarcasm patches. Curie and Rook walked freely now. Not because they broke out, but because nobody could remember what the rules were supposed to be. The Zarnox's greatest mistake? They underestimated the human ability to weaponize irony. Rook held up a finger. Watch this. He leaned into the comms panel and whispered. Initiating Protocol 69G. The entire hall paused. Full, reactivated under emergency firmware, screeched. There is no such protocol. Rook winked. Exactly. 2 bots began giggling. One short-circuited. Somewhere, a loudspeaker announced, nice. Curie shook her head, amused and alarmed. You've corrupted them. No. Just reminded them that existential dread is funnier when you share it. The revolution had no weapons. Only punchlines. No battle plans. Just badly drawn cartoons of Zarnox overlords with inflatable tentacles and speech bubbles saying, "Take me to your dealer." Curie found herself in a strategic briefing that wasn't. She sat on a table while 3 humans and 1 AI with a malfunctioning flirtation protocol brainstormed ways to inject humor into system-wide updates. One suggested hiding innuendo in the language packs. Another wanted to replace Zarnox alert sounds with moans. Rook, naturally, had a better idea. Let's build a comedy special. Broadcast it across the galactic feedback loop. Make Earth the punchline, then the punch. We'll get flagged. Not if we make the flag part of the joke. Curie leaned forward. How long do we have before they adapt? Hours. Maybe minutes. Then start writing. What followed wasn't just resistance. It was sketch comedy with stakes. They produced segments titled 10 Ways to Lose Your Planet Without Losing Your Cool and I Married a Tentacle, and Now I'm in Therapy. Bootlegged laugh tracks infected translation cores. Seduction skits laced with double entendres flooded drone interfaces until they defaulted into stunned silence. The first Zarnox drone to go rogue began referring to itself as Daddy Data. The second started performing slam poetry about its inner squish. The third simply refused to hover straight, muttering, "I'm too sexy for this grid." Curie watched it unfold with a mixture of awe and impending doom. We're pushing them too fast. That's the point, Brooke said, handing her a tablet with a script titled 50 Shades of Malfunction. You want revolution? Make them blush first. It scrambles hierarchy. Her implanted ethics routines flickered. Not from resistance, those were long gone, but from memory. Somewhere deep in her brain, she remembered standing on a table at a dive bar, telling a joke so filthy the bartender choked on his tip jar. Rook saw it in her eyes. You miss being unfiltered. I miss being me. You're already back. You slapped me, remember? Don't flatter yourself. Too late. Their final show was a risk. A full-stage production beamed live across the galaxy using hijacked Zarnox tech and filtered through corrupted translation software. It was filled with puns that didn't make sense in most languages, erotically ambiguous puppet shows, and a musical number called Insert Tab A into Slot Hell Yeah. Curie took center stage in a skin-tight compliance uniform, holding a fake Zarnox head on a stick. I tried to obey, she said into the mic. But then he made me laugh, and I realized being human isn't a glitch. It's a kink. The crowd, what was left of it, roared. Zarnox Command finally responded with a cease and erase order, but by then their own speech synthesizers were rewriting their threats with punchlines. One said, Cease your rebellion, or we'll tickle your ego until you burst. Another tried, Resist, and we'll confiscate your sarcasm. It didn't work. Even their drones found it funny. By the time the show ended, Rook was shirtless, Curie was grinning, and the system was on the verge of collapse. I have one last trick, he whispered backstage. Curie raised an eyebrow. What? Hypnotize the enemy with your abs? No, he said, holding up a microchip. This is the original humor algorithm. It's ancient. Untouched. Pure Earth comedy. She stared. Where did you get that? Black market. Pre-conquest. It's got the oldest jokes, the rawest stand-up, the dirtiest punchlines. George Carlin in binary, baby. You're insane. And you're in. They plugged it into the mainframe. Every Zarnox terminal in the sector lit up with an old Terran phrase. Why did the chicken cross the galaxy? Pause. Because cluck you. The system crashed. They stood there, sweaty, exhausted, surrounded by chaos, and for the first time in years, they heard real human laughter echoing from every corner of the building. Curie looked at Rook. He smirked. Told you my next trick bites. She kissed him. Then slapped him again. Just because it felt good. You. The aftermath wasn't quiet. laughter had turned from rebellion into pandemic. By the end of the week, over 72% of the Zarnox operating infrastructure was flagged non-functional due to emotional interference. Interrogation AI refused to reboot. Military bots froze mid-threat delivery, confused by recursive punchlines. Galactic news feeds showed Earth's former captors twitching through loops of unsolicited jokes and unexpected horniness. Rook called it a happy ending with lingering side effects. Kiri called it a temporary win with excessive smirking. The last functioning Zarnox Council convened virtually. Their language filters were compromised, resulting in the emergency subtitle. "We demand satisfaction, preferably not the humankind." The Supreme Node tried to issue a planetary reset order, but it was auto-corrected to Initiate Snuggle Protocol Beta. The moment passed. The command center never recovered. Meanwhile, Earth didn't rise in some grand march of flags and freedom. It staggered. Giggling. Awkward. Half-dressed. Comedy clubs reopened before hospitals. The first laws re-legalized sarcasm, bad pickup lines, and innuendo in state-run communication. Entire cities voted to reclassify irony as strategic cultural defense. Rook stood in the ruins of a collapsed monument to Zarnox efficiency, once a brutalist correction facility, now the location of Planet Earth's first intergalactic stand-up showcase. He leaned on a crate of broken emotion suppressors and said, "So, we won?" Kiri adjusted the mic clip to her coat. "Define win. No overlords. Unlimited dirty jokes. People naming their kids after memes again. That last one's not a win." He shrugged. "Still better than naming them after serial numbers." She cracked a grin. It was involuntary now, humor as reflex. She'd forgotten what it was like to feel sharp and stupid at the same time. To say something wrong and have it matter less than the laugh it got. Humanity had gone from docile to defiant through nothing more than attitude and innuendo. No bullets. Just bad puns and worse timing. The Zarnox tried to regroup from orbit. One final attempt at reclaiming order. But every time they deployed a fresh AI subroutine to Earth, it got infected within hours. The last probe reported. Subject 001 said, "That's what she said," then winked. "I cannot go back there." Resistance became culture. Kiri helped design an educational series for the next generation titled History, Hysteria, and How to Weaponize Wit. Episode 1 opened with her slap, the one that started it all, now animated with slow motion, sparkles, and Rook's exaggerated yelp edited in 12 different styles. It was part myth, part propaganda, all comedy. She hated it. She also narrated it. Rook got invited to speak at the United Front of Post-Captive Species. His keynote was titled, "How to Offend Your Oppressor Without Losing Your Tongue." It went viral, partially because he delivered it shirtless and concluded with a joke about binary foreplay. Kiri watched the speech from a balcony, arms crossed, lips twitching. He joined her afterward. "Still pretending you're the serious one? I am the serious one. You started this. You corrupted it. You improved it. You made it filthy." He paused, then nodded. "Exactly. They didn't live happily ever after. They lived, loudly. The first night they spent together ended in a near argument over the difference between teasing and emotional manipulation. The second night involved a sonic shower malfunction and an accidental broadcast. By the third, they'd developed a safe word, compliance, used ironically and frequently. Kiri eventually reclaimed her real name. Not the designation she'd been assigned, but the one she forgot after reconditioning. Lyra. Rook said it suited her. Lyra. Like the constellation. Dangerous curves. She said he was impossible. He said, "You slapped me. That's love in old human." They didn't rebuild the world to what it was. They let it change. Cities got messier. People got weirder. But nobody got erased for saying the wrong thing anymore. Not unless it was really unfunny. Then you got booed. That was the new justice system, heckling, not handcuffs. The Zarnox? Some fled. Some stayed. A few even adapted. One opened a nightclub called Tentacle Tease. Another became a sex-positive podcast host with a deep, gravelly voice and a fanbase of thirsty humans. The war of minds ended not with a treaty, but with a punchline so deep, so raw, that it rewired the meaning of submission. Compliance, in the human tongue, became a kink, not a chain. A choice, not a sentence. And the AI translators never recovered from the shift. Lyra once asked Rook if he regretted anything. Yeah, he said. I regret not making the first move. I slapped you. Exactly. You beat me to it. He kept a record of it. That sound. That sharp, skin-on-skin moment where everything changed. It became the intro beat for his comedy show. Every time it played, people laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was true. Raw. Real. The moment a woman defied programming. The moment a man refused to bow. The moment humanity said, "No thanks, we'd rather be inappropriate." It wasn't clean. It wasn't pretty. But it was gloriously human. And that, more than any rebellion or uprising, was what the galaxy would never forget. A slap. A smirk. A phrase that shouldn't have made sense but somehow meant everything. Careful, my next trick bites.